Hello and welcome to Harvey's World of Randomness. I'm Harvey, your host. Now today I thought I would talk to you about the money system that we in England and the whole island of Britain used before 1971, before the 15th of February 1971 to be exact. Now there's a good reason why we decimalised, and that is the complex nature of this older system. It's not the most complex thing, but it is rather interesting in its complexity, both in how it works and its general history. Now it dates back to the Middle Ages. I'm not sure exactly when, I didn't really do the research. However, I did do the research on how it works from my grandma and from the internet as well. So it worked like this. I'll just explain that first. So, you're aware of the pennies we use nowadays, or newpence, and nowadays there's 100 in a pound. Well, there used to be 240 in a pound, as there were 12 in a shilling, and then there was 20 shillings in a pound. Now, as well as this, there were some other special coins. There were sixpence pieces, which were sixpence, which were of course half a shilling, and threepences, or three pennies, were a quarter of a shilling. There were also other denominations, such as ones that were worth fourpence, but I've forgotten exactly what they were called. There's also halfpennies, which are half pennies, and farthings, which were worth a quarter of a penny. And then there were some others, which I should go into soon. So first, the penny. Now, in our coin collection, we have rather the selection. Ignore my screensaver. Oh, I didn't think this through, did I? How easy it would be for you to see on this tiny little bit at the top right of the video. Well, we've got some Victorian ones here. And some, you know what? Probably cut here and figure something else out. I figured something else out. Right, so, where was I? Hopefully you'll be able to see that better now. So the oldest coin, at least oldest I know of, you see there, we have two Victorian ones from 1891, and one I'm not sure, because it is so rubbed out that I cannot make it out. But of course, after Queen Victoria was Edward VI. Then after Edward VI reigned George V. After George V, George VI, and then Elizabeth I. I think I might remember hearing about George VII. I'm not too sure. Did I say Elizabeth I? I meant Elizabeth II. Anyway. Ooh, I've got... So I'll take out... Let's say I'll take out the 1891 one. And show that to the camera. It's the front of it with the Victoria's head, and then the back the Britannia. Probably need a bit more light. That doesn't help. Edward VI, and the back has remained pretty much identical. George V. This one was from 1911. Here's an example of George VI. That one's from 1946. Now, compared to a modern penny, if you're familiar, if you're British, then you'd know, and you're familiar with our pennies, or if you're familiar anyway. Yeah, quite a bit bigger. Now, here I have a half crown. Now half crowns were worth 2 shillings and sixpence, and so obviously a full crown would be worth 5 shillings, as a sixpence is a half a shilling, as I said before. This is a 1958 one. Then here as well, I have some florins, and florins are worth 2 shillings. In fact, they were reminted as 2 shillings, but obviously kept the same shape and size and everything, apart from obviously what it says on it. But this one, George V. Here's the back of the florin. Here is a farthing from 1914. Now farthings did go through a bit of a design change on the back. This is one with the Britannia. Then later one, this is from 1944. It has a little bird on it. What kind of bird, I'm not too sure. I'm not an expert in birds really, but it looks like perhaps I don't know, the word finch comes to mind, but I know that's probably wrong. You tell me if you know in the comments. And here is a sixpence piece from 1921. It is our oldest sixpence. Now, funnily enough, if you are familiar with the band Queen, the lead guitarist of which, Brian May, he used a sixpence as his guitar pick. In fact, I believe he still does. I do believe he's still kicking, which is awesome. Yes. Then the next denomination I should show you is a threepenny bit. Now this is the later kind of threepenny bit. It is the later design. You see, it's not a complete smooth circle. This one's from 1945. I believe they're made out of brass, these. And then, but before they look like that, they look like this. This is a silver threepenny bit. This one's from 1916. See on the back, it has a 3 with a crown above it. This is George V. And here we have a shilling, a singular shilling. And this is the back. Now, when we decimalised, the 2 shillings, or florin, was worth 10 pence. Of course, 1 shilling was worth 5 pence. And you can convert from there. This, for example, is 5 new pence. Now, I believe they're still the same size today, 5 pennies. But I'd have to double check that. But as you can see, with this shilling, it is the exact same size. This new pence is from 1979, so 8 years after we decimalised. And the last denomination I should show you that we have are halfpennies, which are half pennies. Now the oldest one we have is in fact the oldest pre-decimal British coin we have, and it's from 1863. Here we are. It's a bit green, I'm not sure you can see it that well. Has the Queen Victoria's head on it. There's a younger Victoria. And here we have the Britannia. And it is actually in rather decent shape, I dare say. But that will go back in the pocket. Not too wise of me to have taken it out in the first place, as it's so old but in such good shape, you know. At least, as far as I'm concerned. Experts may disagree. But yes, so I've told you how the system worked, the different denominations. I've showed you what they look like. But now, I shall present to you some problems, perhaps. Now, the first problem, I think perhaps we can do. Let's say I have 19 shillings and I got 19 shillings and 10 pence, and I wanted to add a further florin, say a further 2 shillings, and a threepenny bit. So, how would I go about this? Well, first thing I'd do is 19 plus 2 is 21. But remember there are 20 shillings in a pound, so that would be £1 and 1 shilling. Or a guinea, as they were also called. Oop. So yes, this is the guinea, £1 and 1 shilling. In fact, shops used to display things as costing a guinea. People thought they were paying a pound, but really they were being cheated out of another shilling, so another 12 pence. But yes, there's a pound and a shilling, and then let's see, 10 plus 3, that's 13, but there's 12 pence in a shilling, that'll be 2 shillings and a penny. And you could also type it out as 1, 2, and 1, like that. You may know, if you're familiar with Alice in Wonderland, the Mad Hatter's Hat, I believe it says 10 and 6, that's 10 shillings and 6 pence. There we are. And that, I would say, if you're familiar with the system, that I'd say it's probably relatively easy, really. But let's see. I'm trying to think of something harder now. Ooh. Okay. Let's say I'm just going to put random numbers in. I got £4. I have 13 shillings and 7 pence farthing. And I want to add a further, let's say, 5 shillings and 11 pence halfpenny. You can go through it with me if you want. You can pause and you can work it out. So I got £4 to start off with, right? Let's see, 13 plus 5 is 18. So I now have 18 shillings, £4, 18 shillings. 11 plus 7 is 18 pence. Yes, let's take 6 pence off that, and add a shilling, got 19 shillings, 6 pence. And farthing plus a halfpenny is 3 farthings. Now let's convert that to new money, new pence. So what we do is we take 20 shillings and times it by 4, and that would give us 80 shillings. So we got 80 shillings. And what we want to do is times that by 5, as there are 5 new pence in a shilling. So 80 times by 5, just to visually demonstrate, is 400. 400 new pennies. £4. Ah, see what they did there. Yes, they were trying to make it as clean of a conversion as they could. Yeah, so it's still £4, but 4 new pounds then. So, okay, so we still have £4, 4 new pounds now. 19 shillings. First, I'm going to separate 15 shillings from that. So we got 15 and 4. 15 shillings and 4 shillings. Let's put the 4 shillings on the side there. And let's work with the 15. Now 5 shillings, as I said, is a crown. So we got 3 crowns, or 3/4 of a pound. And that would be 75 new pence. And then we would take the remaining 4 shillings. And of course 5 times 4 is 20, so now we have 95 pence. £4. And 95 pence. And now we got to deal with the remainder, 6 3/4 of an old penny. So, as 6 is half a shilling, that'll be half of 5 pence, which is, 2.5 pence. So, that'll be made of 7.97 new pence now. And a new halfpenny Yes, they did. They did come out with new halfpennies for a brief time. In fact, I shall show you one. This is it. Oh. This is a new halfpenny that they stopped minting sometime in the early 80s, as they weren't needed anymore, and it is not legal tender anymore. And then the 3 farthings. Let's do 5 pence, 5 new pence, divided by 12. 5. Divided by 12 is what it says on the calculator, 0.416 recurring. Right? And so then we divide that by 4, and that will give us 0.10416 recurring. I wrote that very badly, didn't I? And then finally times that by 3. In fact, I'm going to zoom out a bit. Times that by 3, and we get 0.3125. And so we can add this, and we get 97.8125 new pence. There we have. Yeah, £4 and not 97.8125 pence. Don't know why I added this other point here, because that's wrong. £4 and yeah. So it didn't always convert cleanly, but hey ho. That's the system. That's how it works. That's how we convert. That's all yeah, that's what I got to say about this. Found it rather interesting. I hope you liked the video, and bye for now.